Okay, we began learning Pardes Shishi, which is going through the spheros, so everything makes sense. And the lower spheros, the second sphere is Gevurah. Chesed's kind of easy. What you're supposed to do, Chesed, do Chesed. It's not really easy the way we understood it, because we understand it not as kindness, but as hispashtus. And Gevurah is containing or boundaries to that hispashtus. That's the way we understand Gevurah. And then the Tomer Devorah surprises us with Da ki kol pulos yiserus yetzer hara he mamish ma'oris hagvuras hachazaka. So the first thing we need to understand is that just like Hashem created Chesed and Gevurah, He created Yetzer Hatov and Yetzer Hara. So the Yetzer Hara is not the way we grow up thinking about it. There's that little negative voice within us which says, do it. Just do it. That's not Gevurahs. That's Kalus. That's the opposite of Gevurah. That's weakness. But the Yetzer Hara is part of the Bria, and it falls into the sphere of Gevurah. It's hard to say we don't like Gevurah. Gevurah is one of the spheres of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's part of the Bria. In a sense, it's part of the technology of the Bria. That's what the spheres are. So this part, I don't like. It's like saying you don't like electricity because it gives you a shock. Like, just get rid of that out of the appliance.
Right.
Okay. Then dangerous. It's dangerous, but it's that it's exactly the Gevurah which is needed in the Bria. I said at the beginning of the week that the Akedah was such that Avram Avinu was the midah of Chesed and Yitzchak was the midah of Gevurah. Yitzchak was all boundaries. Pachad Yitzchak. It's always b'pachad. Avram Avinu was tent open on all four sides. So the Akedah is the bonding of Avraham and Yitzchak, where, look, some of my Chesed has to go to you, Yitzchak, and some of your Gevurah has to go to me, hence we get a Yaakov. If not, you have Avram, which is Kulei Chesed, which is Kulei Hispashtus, and the what comes out from this, the Ramchal says, is Paradam. What comes out from Avram, without Sarah saying no, is what comes out as a Yishmael, not a Yitzchak.
It's as Esav to Yitzchak.
Right, v'chulu.
I'm not saying it's the midah.
It's a different midah. It's not the midah where we got to work down the spheres. All the avos are in the spheres. But Esav is the opposite of Tiferes. So, but let's stick to this: that Chesed and Gevurah. If you don't have a Gevurah to the Chesed, you end up with Paradam, which is Yishmael. Paradam. Yodai bakol v'yad kol bay. No boundaries. No boundaries.
And they live in a place where there's no boundaries. It doesn't.
Or they're pre-1907. It's interesting that in the Teichach, I always mention this, in the Teichach on Mishnah Torah, so it says, Yikneuni b'loy el, Parshas Kisav, since Klal Yisrael went against me with godlessness, I will Yiknunu name, I will hurt them b'loyam, with a loam. A loam, a nation which is struggling for statehood, struggling to. It's a loam. It's not really a people. It's not.
Hazino also. It's also Hazino.
Yeah, you can only be loam. A loam is no boundaries. An am has a boundary. England is England, and France is France, and America is America. There might not be any boundaries within, but there are boundaries. A loyam is no boundaries. I mean, if you look at Islam, it's the whole world is Islam. It's not like, what do they want from this little, caliphate over here? Like the whole world. They have to take the whole world. You have to take. What do you want from Syria? Take the whole world. But so we have what I'm getting to is the point I want to make is that when we talk about Gevurah or we talk about Yetzer Hara, so we're not talking about something which we have to live in spite of it. We're talking about part of the technology of the Bria. Part of the technology of the Bria is Gevurah. And Gevurah is where Ra comes from. Ra comes from the Gevurah. So hence, Yetzer HaTov, Yetzer Hara. It's not just, the whole translation is wrong. Evil inclination. A Yetzer is a Yetzirah. Something which is created. It's a creation of Ra. Yetzer Hara. Yotzer or Vorei Choshech. Choshech Shalom Vorei Yisrael. Bria. Yetzirah. In Yetzirah, in Atzilus Bria, Yetzirah is a very developed level of in the Olamos of creation. It's not just so Ra and Toiv is much further developed than Chesed and Gevurah. But because Chesed and Gevurah are in the world of Bria, and it's Atzilus Bria, and Toiv and Ra is already in the Yetzirah. Hashem started to talk about Tov and Ra when He created the world. And then we learned together the Zohar and Vayishlach that says that a person is created with Ra, and then when he's bar mitzvah, he gets the Toiv, Yetzer HaToiv. So it seems to be that it's even you have to have the Yetzer Hara before you have the Yetzer HaTov, because the Ra is without the Ra, as quoted from the Goin on Monday, the Imrei Noyam. We couldn't possibly exist without Yetzer Hara. You could possibly exist without Yetzer HaTov, but you can't exist without Yetzer Hara. That's your survival. You wouldn't get hungry, you wouldn't get thirsty, you wouldn't procreate. The world would not exist. We wouldn't exist personally if not for the Kol Hara. Elamai. It's Ra. So why is it called Ra if it's so good? Baal Shem Tov goes so far as to say that Ra is Lashon Reus. He's your friend. Yahavta l'Rayacha Kamecha. The Baal Shem Tov says it's serious that the Ra is actually Toiv. So I just and the Goin was going on the Gemara that says B'chol Levavcha B'shnei Yitzrecha. So again, the usual way, I think superficial way of understanding it is use your Yetzer Hara l'tov. Right, if you like to kill people, so kill Rishayim, get involved with the firing squad division of the army, whatever. Like killing people.
That implies, it's all clapped by Adam himself. When Ra comes from outside, ISIS.
So this is actually a very important point you're making. Like we could talk about Ra in Gevurah. You're making a very deep point. You talk about Ra coming from Gevurah, it's within the person. But what about the Ra like evil, which is called the evil inclination? So it's the Yetzirah of Ra, which is responsible for all Ra in the world, including the Ra which is within, but also includes the Nazis, ISIS, as you say. So, I can't explain Ra, but I want to try. I want to try. This is what the hashkafa of this is, that we have to all understand that it's coming from Gevurah. Did I ever tell you a story, just to give you, it's the moment of entertainment, indulge me. But years ago when I first got married, a long time ago, almost 40 years ago, when I first got married, so Hilchos Nida was fresh on my mind. So when you first get married, you teach other chassanim and chassan classes. So at least that's what I did. So I was loaded with this chassan. I remember it so well. I was just married, and I had a little tiny apartment in Romema, and it was in a basement. And it was winter, and the heat came from one of these neft. Anybody remember those?
Yeah.
Neft heater.
Yeah.
Which once blew up in my face,
Yes.
and didn't have a lot. I lost my whole beard. I stuck my head inside to see why I wasn't working. Ra.
Ra.
Yeah, so I'm learning with this guy. He's actually he was about Tshuva, but a very pretty advanced yeshivish guy. So he was telling me how while I was learning with him, he was telling me how he became from. I asked him, "How did you become from?" So he told me how he became from. So he tells me a story that he was growing up. He grew up in a pretty normal family and everything, but growing up, he always had like this unbelievable desire to kill somebody. So this was not the reason I'm telling you that I was in a secluded, dark basement. It was like, okay. So he always had this desire to kill somebody, but he's a good person. He's not going to go kill anybody. So he wasn't sure what to do. So it was the time of the Vietnam era growing up. So he decided it's easy. He'll go join the army. He'll kill somebody. Remember there used to be big billboards when I was a kid. You remember the big billboards that said, travel the world, meet new people, and kill them. Join the U.S. Army. That was in the 60s. But so he always wanted. So he joined the army, and he said, okay, he's ready to go. He wants to go to action to Vietnam. So he flunked the physical. But the problem is, like, once you join the army, there's no, you can't get out. Oh, okay, I didn't want. So they put him in a kitchen, working, and he's
kill chickens.
Yeah, no, he would kill chickens, peeling potatoes, and the army food was no mahalach, and he was getting more and more depressed, and then he was telling me the whole story. Then he got very depressed, and then he became an alcoholic because he was so depressed. Because he wasn't killing anybody, so he got depressed, and then he came home. He came back, went to the base drunk, and he punched his senior officer. So he got court-martialed, and then he went to jail. And then Shlomo Karlbach came to visit the jail, and got him out of there somehow, and sent him to Eretz Yisrael. He went to Devar Yerushalayim, and then from Devar Yerushalayim he went to started learning, and he became like a whole. Now he's getting married. So I said to him, do you still, do you still, want to kill somebody? So he says, more than ever. This big smile. So interesting, like it never went away. So okay, he didn't kill me, but it just. It's stuck in my mind, but this is not the end of the story. The end of the story is that maybe 20, 25 years later, so I was in Monsey, so a fundraiser for the yeshiva came, and he was trying to compile a list of all the alumni of the yeshiva so he can go ask them for money. So he said, do I remember this guy? Do I remember that guy? Tell me some more names. So I said, and then there's this guy. I don't know where he is now. Named this fellow. I wonder where he is. Like all these are 25 years later, everybody's lost. So he says, no, he's in touch with him. He owns a gun store in Los Angeles. Nice to show you. He still owns a gun store in Los Angeles. So there's a frum guy with a black hat and everything, and he owns a gun store in Los Angeles. So what do I want to bring out? I'm not sure. But
look whether this bad got him to.
Right. No, so the point is that there's a midah. Here's the point. There's a midah of ra, which is it ra? In other words, is it something that he should have kind of knocked out of his system, or is it like the Goin says? Can we open up our minds to understand that somehow or another, maybe this koach of ra within him was a certain koach of Gevurah, which was making him which was pushing him along. And Baruch Hashem, he has married kids now. He's okay. But the point is, maybe this koach of ra wasn't it manifests itself as a way to kill somebody. It even caused him to make a living selling guns. But the Metzias is that there was something alive within him which was pushing him. There was a certain ambition. There was a certain drive there that maybe you and I don't have. So it's not just about. So the Goin said such a beautiful lashon. I didn't bring it, but such a beautiful lashon. The Goin said that the purpose of the Yetzer Hara is not to give you something to conquer. It's the lashon of the Gevurah. So it's not like your whole life is there. I created Yetzer Hara, kill it. Not because it's the Yetzer Hara is a positive. He's your friend. It's a positive koach in the bria. And that's the koach of Gevurah. Nobody could take Gevurah off the chart. Gevurah is an important part of the chart, but it's a piece of us which obviously has to be hamtokas hadinim, has to be with chesed, and you have to end up with a tiferes, and you can't let it go. Right. So Doran asked the question: What about the evil outside of us? How do you deal with that? So the truth is, there's no difference, because As much as it's difficult for us to be makabelus, but this is what all the Sfarim say, even the Mesilas Yesharim and Parakid Gimel, says that what we need to understand is that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what he says is that there's a macro level and a micro level. So on a micro level, Ra is Ra, evil is evil, and nobody wants to be in a concentration camp, right? That's Pasha. But then there's a macro level which is unexplainable probably, and we need to humble ourselves to, and that is that Sof Kol Sof, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the manhig, the Lashon of Mesilas Yesharim, I think, is the manhig hakarbanit, the ship's captain, has a mahalach over here, and where it's easier for us to look back at the Chorban Beis Hamikdash, we were talking about on Shabbos a couple of weeks ago, that Tzadik Hashem Elokeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Tzadik, Vayishkoid Hashem al Haro, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Golus of Yechonyahu 12 years before the Golus of Tzidkiyahu, and we thought, oh, El Naris Bavel Sham Yashavnu Gam Bachinu, we were crying and crying, but the end of the pasuk says, Daniel says, Ki Tzadik Hashem Elokeinu. What was the Tzadik? Because these 12, he took out the masker and the chorosh, took out all the big Talmidei Chacham, the Nebuchadnezzar, to drain the Jewish community of Eretz Yisrael and sent them in Golos to Bavel. What did they do in Bavel? They opened up butcher shops and yeshivas and kolelim, and by the time the Golos Tzidkiyahu, which was the Amoritz, got to Bavel, it was Lakewood. It was all there. Right. So what we were crying about somehow had a good effect in history. So that's the small look at history. If you look at a bigger macro level of history, 600 years later, Chorban Bayis Sheni, there was still a community in Bavel because of the Golus Yechonyahu that was all set with Torah, and Shmuel was the Rebbe of Bavel, and we have the Talmud Bavli, which went for another 500 years with Ravina and Ravashi. So we have and the Goinim. This is all. So if you take the micro look at history, this is very, very painful. If you look at the macro, which is very difficult, I don't think anybody is expected to feel good about this. But what we can do is hashkafically at least
look at the
humble ourselves to the big picture. It's a very difficult thing to do, but humble ourselves to the big picture.
Now we have Eretz Yisrael.
Right. So I don't think we're there yet. I think it's too early because Eretz Yisrael is not a good enough mountain for 6 million Jews.
Right.
So that's to say that Lo Aleinu Ra, external Ra, I'll call it, comes on the individual. That individual needs to say, that's Ratzon Hashem for me.
Or at least for everybody, it's Ratzon Hashem. So everybody, like I say about the electricity in the refrigerator, you can't get rid of it. But I mean, everybody knows that without pushback, without resistance, you don't get anywhere. Like everyone knows that if you want to be athletic, you have to lift weights or run long times, or you have to do things that I don't want to fall into the superficial idea of no pain, no gain. It doesn't hurt, you didn't do anything. I don't mean that. I mean that it's very possible that the Ra in the world somehow or another creates a matzav of tov as a pushback. So Reb Tzadok goes so far as to say that the if not for the fact that there would have been, this is the only Reb Tzadok I believe that Rav Kook brings. I think so. That if not for the Ra, if not for the low madrega of assimilation that we reached with Mordechai and Esther and Shushan in Persia, there would not have been a Bayis Sheni. There would not have been a massive tshuva movement. If we think we have about tshuva movement today, there was a massive tshuva movement in Persia. I mean, look at it like adults, not as a Purim story. That's the real pure Purim story. There was a massive Baal Tshuva movement. Why? Because of one thing, Haman. And this, the Gemara says, Gadol Asaras HaTabas, that Haman did more with Achashverosh's ring for the Jewish people than all the Nevi'im and all the Nevi'im put together. So we all know the Gemara, but what is the Gemara saying? So Reb Tzadok points out what the Gemara is simply saying is that the Ra was toiv. If not for the Ra of Haman was the shliach. He was the Lubavitch Rebbe of the Torah, not Mahavdallah of Havdallah. In other words, he brought more people to tshuva than Reb Dov Weinberg, right? I mean, he was like an amazing Kiruv operator. Why? Because Gadol has, you see, Yosem Memches Nevius was Zayin Nevius before Shigemar. So Reb Tzadok says, I think I hope I quoted the right place. I remembered it, and I was trying to remember what I was reading to. Tzaddik says, I think this is the right one. In the base, Tidkas HaTzadik, Al Yitame Adam Im Yer Rishayim Misrabim Ba'olam V'holchem Miskadlim B'chol Yom ISIS. Al Yitame. By the way, ISIS is an easy one. Rishayim killing Rishayim. You know, as Jews, like we're a lot of, I mean, we've gotten to the place in the world that the world allows us to, you know, you're not supposed to kill us, but how dare we kill anybody else? Right? Like that for sure we're not allowed to do. So if we kill a Hamasnik, so like, you know, you're Jewish, so of course, don't kill people. Like, you're not allowed to kill people. But you know, if ISIS takes over the border, now ISIS is preparing a war with Hamas. So if they become our neighbors, this is a fantastic thing. We can kill everybody, and the world will say Yasher Koach. Except the only thing is, then all of a sudden ISIS will become Tzadikim. It's like a...
They're not the same ISIS.
Right? Yeah, does it? What are you killing? Nabuch. Children. I'm not. Listen, I'm not a political. I'm just saying that that's already easy. But so says the Tzaddik, Yadash Hashem Yisbaruch Hu Baal HaKerem. Person has to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Baal HaKerem. Is there any tachlis and weeds in the garden? Does anybody know?
They are a form of plant.
Yeah, multiple.
No, but we pull them out. Right? What's the purpose?
Give us exercise.
Come on, David. Right. What's the purpose of weeds in the garden?
Weeds in the garden?
Weeds. Why did Hashem put them there?
They do stuff on the soil.
Yeah. They open up the soil and let everything. Now, if you let them go, they kill everything because it's too much. But what they do is the weeds are very, very strong, and they have a koach to break through the soil and then allow the good plants to grow. So the Gemara talks about weeds. The Gemara talks about shmarim, fascinating. Shmarim is the sediment in wine the Gemara talks about, which is terrible. It's terrible stuff. But it's the sediment in the wine which gives the wine its alcoholic property. And it's the sediment in the wine which is virtually poison, which is mesameach es habriyos. So says Reb Tzaddik in his pshat in the Gemara. It's the sediment. You know how you make grape juice? You kill the sediment. You boil the grape juice, and you kill the sediment. There's no enzyme there to make it alcoholic. So alcohol is good. So this is mesameach yayin yisamach lavav enoish. It's only because of the shmarim, and the shmarim are him harishayim. It's a smasher from the Gemara and Brachos Tav Yud. It's a hafladika thing. So are the shmarim good or are the shmarim bad? It's not the pshat that we have a munah that they're good. It's not. You can see that they're good. So it says Reb Tzaddik, Yada Hashem Yisbaruch Hu Baal HaKerem. Gevurah b'Matzia Pei Gimel v'Yodea Tivoi Shel Kerem Yosim Rimenu. Kadosh Baruch Hu knows how to work the kerem, the vineyard, better than we do. So listen to this pshat, unbelievable. Chazal Omer Sanhedrin Tzaddik Chesed Aleph. Ben David Mashiach, right? Efshir Sheyaveh B'dar Shekulei Chayav. What does it mean? Or B'dar Shekulei Tov. Dar Shekulei Tov, we understand Mashiach. Dar Shekulei Chayav, we try to understand. How could a Dar Shekulei Chayav, everybody's bad, how's that going to bring Mashiach? So what's the simple pshat? The simple pshat is, well, it's so bad, we're going to get lost, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to save us. Like Mitzrayim. Ben David Shiavai Bedar Efshir Shiavai Bedar Shekulei Chayav. What does it mean? Diyamid Melech Koshe Kahaman. A Dar Shekulei Chayav means a door that's going to have a Haman. Sheyashuva b'tshuva, which will bring us all to tshuva. Amr Chazal is a Dar Chaviv Mikol Adar is a Dar Hamidbar Mipnei Shezachul Kabbalist Torah. Kadosh Baruch Hu loved the door that came out of Mitzrayim. V'chein al dar shel Shlomo HaMelech alav v'shalom shenispas shel l'chai olam haba. The two doors that Hashem liked is where Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash and the Dorei Shel HaMidbar, where we received the Torah. Two great events in Bein Tzarech Leimer Dorei Shel Mashiach. That's Moed Katan Daf Tes. So the three great Doros are the door of Mekabel HaTorah, the door of Binyan Beis HaMikdash, and the door of Shel Mashiach, our door. We can design it's a dar. Could it be a dar shekulei chayev? How could HaKadosh Baruch Hu love the dar, which is kulei chayev? The answer is because in a dar that's kulei chayev, it'll become like the dar of Persia, and we'll all do tshuva. If Rav Kook quotes this from Tzaddik, and he says, if he walks around, it's just so moving to understand what this man's mind. If he walks around Eretz Yisrael, the more he sees that the Jewish people have fallen into the biggest kind of tumah possible, the happier he is. So he says, "V'loi," and he explains, "Loi shani sameach b'chatoyim u'bara chas v'sholom." He says, "Ani soidei esara oyavei Hashem sinu ra." He says, "I hate it, but I also know deep inside that this is going to come to it. The bounce back on this is going to come to Mashiach." He saw this as like this is going to bring Mashiach. And this is where he quote, he doesn't quote anybody ever. He doesn't quote anybody, but he certainly doesn't quote Reb Tzaddik. But here he quotes Reb Tzaddik. Just read you a little bit more because I'm here and I love this. Shoshana shebein achoichim chashuva yoser k'mo she'amru balei tshuva adifa mitzadikim gemurim. As I'll say that balei tshuva are more chashuv than tzadikim, right? Maybe the pshat is that if we become balei tshuva, so then zdoinois nasa kischuyos. So every Aveira becomes a mitzvah. So if we really assimilated bad, we've got more mitzvahs than anybody else in history. But it sounds like a little Tianer puzzle here. it's a deep thing, because when you have to make a big comeback, you're going to, as a generation or as individuals, so it's going to become bigger than if we were just tzadikim gemurim. So the real tzadikim out there are not going to be the wonderful tzadikim of Meisharim, but it's going to be the Hamonam, which is coming back. Can you hear us saying we should see it? Almost see it, I think. Just again, while I'm here, I just like we need to see this, but the only way I think the way to see this is to, I'm just telling you my opinion, take it or leave it. It's not about making like big discovery seminars or renting out stadiums and telling people about Torah. It's just like about like talking to like just have to take away all the fences that exist between the people, and it's almost nitan me'elav. There's nobody that hasn't had this experience, whether it's in a shop or in a taxi or where just simple conversation is right away bringing to. I was a sandik for my grandson on what was it last week, and afterwards I had to get something printed in downtown Beit Shemesh here, and so I already printed up a picture. So he said, the guy says to me, complete earring here, like a tattoo. He says to me, "Oh, you were a sandak today?" So I say, "Yes, Begilui Rosh." I said, "Ten li bracha." Okay. So if I was a real Litvak, I would say, "Listen, you want a bracha, keep Shabbos," which is true. But I'm just saying that, like,
So you just thought it.
huh?
So you just thought it.
No, but it's techemus. Not really. There's a possibility here of bottoming out and coming back. So that's what Tzaddik brings over here. Then we become yoser adifa mitzadikim gemurim u'tshuva sheshiyeh berega echad. And this whole tshuva could take 1 minute. 1 minute. K'demuchach perek sheni d'kedushin anu mevakshim hashivenu Hashem elecha v'nashuva. Like that. Hashem yisbarach tzavach shuva elai v'ashuva melechem. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in Eicha Rabbah is saying, Shuva Elai, just make a move towards me and I will make a move towards you. So if we have a terrible door, it's going to be the best thing. All of those thorns, all of those weeds, be a big gilui. That's saying everything had to be. One of the things that'll be when Mashiach comes, probably one of the most frightening, but one of the most wonderful moments of Mashiach coming is the gilui. It's the gilui of all of history. So I play with history, so to me it's like such an exciting moment. Like the gilui of history, how everything had to be. So it comes back to the point. When we talk about Ra, outside Ra, inside Ra, Yetzer Hara, or evil in the world, we're talking about the midah of Gevurah. This is the Gevurah's Hashem, and you can't take the Gevurah off the chart, off the sphere chart. So it's Chesed Gevurah. You can't let the Gevurah, you can't let the weeds take over. But at the same time, the worst thing to do would be to kill a Rasha. Because you're losing such an energy of Tov that can possibly be.
Except the Malek. Except the Malek.
Except Amalek. Because Amalek is the Ra itself. In other words, it's the Ra gone.
Berserk.
Gone. You have to pull out the weeds. But you don't want to kill. Why are there 1,000 mishalim of this? Because this is the Bria. when you find something that there's 1,000 examples of it, it means that's good for the way the Bria works. So electricity works with positive and negative. I just finished a long round of antibiotics. What does every single doctor tell you? While you take antibiotics, be careful to take probiotics. So I said to the doctor, I said, what are you worried about? He said, well, it's killing all the bacteria. So I said, so you all eat dirt. Like, what do I have to, I just won't wash my dishes, what's the difference? If you don't have bacteria in your body, so then there's nothing which is ma'orer the toiv, and you can't live. You can't live with just good. You just can't live that way. So everybody, you have to have. So Elamai, what's an infection? Where it goes awry. It goes. But if you keep it in check, so then it's Chesed Gevurah Tiferes, and you end up with something which is perfect. So that's the yachas of the Yetzer Hara. So it says the sorry. Daki Chol Pulois. Let's learn a little bit of the Tomer Devorah. Daki Chol Pulois is Cyrus Yetzer Hara Himamish Maris Me Oire Rois HaGevurah Chazakos. That you have to be careful with the Yetzer Hara, because the Yetzer Hara is tied into the Gevurah. L'kach lo yisnon eya Yetzer Hara shlo yara Gevurah. So if you activate the Yetzer Hara, you have to know that you are activating the Gevurah within, which is not a bad thing, but it's a danger, beware. Vatam Sha'adam noitzer b'shtei yitzirois, and a person is created with two creations within him. Yetzer Atov v'Yetzer Hara, zeh chesed v'zeh gevurah. I want to say pshat. I think it's right that the pasuk goes Yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei ra. Pasuk where? Tehillim. Oseh shalom uborei ra. So Hachik Nesses Hagdola, Kilu, didn't want us to have to say that before our first cup of coffee. So Yotzer Baruch Choshech Oseh Shalom Baruch Hakol. Let's go easy on the people. That's a simple pshat. We say Baruch Hakol, we forget about the Borei Ra. So here's my pshat. Why did they change it to Baruch Hakol? Because Ra combined with Toiv is Hakol. In other words, you don't have a healthy Ganzkeit. You don't have a healthy Ganzkeit in something unless you have Toiv and Ra. You don't have it. You're positive without negative. You don't have it. There's no survival. There's no tshuva. There's no. So Chazal didn't just take out the Ra. Okay, what can we stick in there? They were saying pshat. That Yotzer Baruch Choshech Oseh Shalom Uvorei Ra. Oh, let's just get right to the point. Once we have all that, or choshech ra, we have hakol.
Why don't they just say v'zeh hakol?
That they did.
Why don't they leave
The
it right in?
yotzer hakol. Yotzer choshech oseh shalom. Uboire is in the lashon of bria. Right? That's how we're going over there. We're going atzilus, bria, yitzira, right? Asiya. So yotzer or we're down here. Uborei choshech. Osa Shalom is down here. Ubore up here is a kol. At the beginning, and therefore at the end, the kol, the klolei shel davar is all toy. Ubore is a kol, meaning Hashem creates everything. That's the kol kulei shel bria. Kadosh Baruch Hu creates everything. This is the technology of the bria. The question is, can we humble ourselves to it? Can we? Is it possible for us to be able to say, let's explain Ra is ridiculous. That's why I don't buy it. Like, okay, not for the Holocaust, we don't have a state of Israel. Yeah. It's not good enough for me. But what is good enough for me, I mean, I like the state of Israel, but it's not good enough to kill my grandfather. But what is good enough is that Kadosh Baruch Hu, let me give you one more example before we go today. Like, you take, Tzaddik explains, Misa is a pretty, the whole Indian of Misa. So an encounter with death, that's a pretty dreary, subject. Right? Who's a death? It's like, Tzaddik says that, the emesis, if you look at the idea of Maves, the idea of death, what you're looking at is an encounter with eternity and infinity. It doesn't make us, get excited about death. I'm just saying that it's not a negative died. It is negative because we all want to live, and it's tragic when somebody dies, without question. And none of us want to die, unless there's something wrong with us. That's something that's put in there that we want to live. But in the technology of it, we want to live. It's
Gevurah.
Well, I'm not sure whether it comes from Chesed or Gevurah to want to live, but the encounter, the concept, Tachshev b'yoyim hamisa. Tachshev b'yoyim hamisa doesn't mean get depressed. Here's a new pshat. Like the Gemara says, if you want to do an avera and you can't seem to hold yourself back from doing the avera, so you try this, you try that. So the Gemara says, Tachshev b'yoyim hamisa. The Gemara brachas. So what's the simple pshat? The simple pshat, Tachshev b'yoyim hamisa, is like oy vey. And I better not do this aver because I'm going to burn in hell if I do this aver, right? So you tachshev b'yayim hamisa, you start thinking about all the devils and the pitchforks and all the sheva madur gehenim that's going to come up. Maybe it's true, but that's not what the Gemara means. I don't think the Gemara means. Reb Tzaddik says tachshev b'yayim hamisa is understand that right now what's pushing you to chet is a very, very temporary klipa called a guf. It's not something which has any longevity to it. It's not something. It's just a goof. You're going to shed it. It's going to go away. But tachshev b'yayim hamisa means think eternity, not in terms of long time. Think infinity, in terms of understanding. Get a perspective on olamai. So once you start talking, if you join the dead, I'm not recommending that we become a suicide cult here, but I'm just saying, if you join the dead, you've got a much bigger crowd. then you've gone the way of not just all the dairies before us, but also the way of the malachim, and also the way of the now you're part of this infinity, this eternal. That's
where the party's going.
That's the happening place. Yeah, that's for sure the happening place.
You don't have to go to that.
You don't want to go?
You don't have to go to that. Just consider that. Says consider it's a potentiator for like the resistance in electricity.
A potentiator. I don't even know the
for to activate the good for you to.
Beseder b'deich. How does it activate good? So not because of fear of punishment. As Rabbi Tzaddik says, not because of fear of punishment, because the inspiration of the infinity. Tachshev b'yayim hamavas is toiv l'lechas l'beis ha'ovel l'lechas l'beis ha'mishteh. Beis ha'mishteh is a celebration of this world. The beis ha'ovel is a celebration of infinity. So infinity is good. Like people like to go look at the ocean because they're looking at infinity.
Horizon.
Yeah, they're looking. You see forever, right? So like there's nothing blocking, and you know how deep it goes. So this look at infinity is a perspective which is actually inspiring. But what's the point? The point is that the Ra is not Ra. Ra is v'ahavta livra'acha kamocha. It's your friend Reus. Ava v'achva v'shalom. Reus Ra. That's the Ra.
So what's our potential? And I know it's why we're alive, obviously. In Makir the Surah, the maximum we can expect of ourselves is to accept that Ra, as bitter as it is now, is part of the Cheshbon. It's
part of the macro.
But how many people can really appreciate Ra the symptom as it's on
I don't know how many people like numbers, but if you understand it, you can appreciate it. Rabbi Kiva Hayim Mitzachik.
on the same level as Tov.
Rabbi Kiva thought it was funny. Like Rabbi Kiva laughed. So what is Nichamtani Akiva Nichamtani? I say this at the end of every Tisha B'Av. I'll say it again this year. Nichamtani Akiva Nichamtani. That Nechama is Vayinachim Hashem al kol asher asa. Vayinachim doesn't mean comfort. Vayinachim means to turn things upside down. Nichamtani Akiva Nichamtani. That Akiva had the ability to see the picture of history. Oh, the Navi says, Zechariah says there's going to be Chorban. The Navi Yirmiyahu says there's going to be Chorban, and the Navi Zechariah turn a few pages. Zechariah says there's going to be Binyan. We're part of history. So what did Rabbi Kiva? He saw something better than obviously his own comfort. It was about seeing the macro look of history, where the Ra was actually Toiv. The Ra was actually Toiv, and somehow or another. If not for that Ra, by the way, the Chorban Bais Rishon, let's say there wouldn't have been a Talmud Bavli. If not for there wouldn't have been Yiddishkeit. If not for the Chorban Bais Sheni, there for sure would not have been Yiddishkeit. So we would have been temple centered, and like this. There wouldn't have been Gullus. We wouldn't have spread out. So the point is, can we? I don't know if we, Doran, I don't know if we're able to understand the macro picture. Maybe Akiva understood it. But what we can do is humble ourselves to it. That's the point. And at the same time, we can humble ourselves more linyan. We can humble ourselves to the Yetzer Hara. Like the Yetzer Hara is humbling in the sense that, like when a person feels the Yetzer Hara, like, and the Gemara says, like strong, Lo olam Yargiz Adam Yetzer Hara Yetzer Hara. Like don't just let your Yetzer Hara just become, don't become an old person. Like, get it activated. Why? Because why should you activate your Yetzer Hara? Better to. The answer is because it's dangerous. But by activating the bacteria shaboy, you're activating the toiv. And if not my Yetzer Hara, we wouldn't do anything good. We wouldn't do anything good. That's we would have no drive. We would have no tov. If not for out, we would have no Gevurah. We would have no Gevurah. So everything that takes a little bit of Gevurah takes a little bit of Ra, and that's the Nakuda. I'm sorry I didn't go further, but I just want to get this introduction 100% clear. So Sunday we'll start Omnam Pirshu Desire.
The story of the Yitol. You don't like
the gun guy.
What?
The gun guy?
The guy with the gun. So the Yishuv Shalom said he took his Yetzer Hara and he used it for good. But I think we're trying to say something much deeper.
Of course.
That it wasn't that he used it for the good and he bought he's now a Shomer Shabbos.
Supporting yeshivas with his gun store.
Right, but rather that this Ra is really.
First of all, if not for the Ra, he would have never become a yeshiva ball. Right? It never would have happened. But I'm not even saying that. I'm saying something deeper than that. But that's first of all. Forget about the gun store supporting supporting the kollel, but taking an ad in the journal. Moshe's guns. But besides that, like it was definitely there was something burning in him, right? Tukad Bekirbi. There was something burning in him which was causing action and stuff.
Activating.
So he crossed he crossed the sea and he learned. It was good.
It was good.
It was good.
Maybe Rabbi Yochanan saw that in Reish Lakish.
For sure. Not maybe.
Like this,
He said,
massive
that's his lashon. Chelcha la'iraisa. That's a lashon. Chelcha lo'iraisa.
I think the most obvious mechanism of potentiator is a yom la'aseh makom kabbalis harim. There's a cutoff date, whether it's 1,000 years, 100 years, or 70 years is a cutoff date. And if, here's where the
So what do you see from there, though?
The eternity tells you that you're currently that's where the Ra and type start.
I mean, the eternity is explaining
the state we're in.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
it's the state we're in, not.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
not
what
because you want to become a holy,
misa.
but not because you want to become a holy roller, because you realize that your yitzrei hara are so irrelevant as compared to what you're really about, but rather that it activates. You're doing it now because you're on stage now.
Would you say that it's only Ra once Tov enters a picture? That's why at 13 it becomes Tov. But until Tov, until 13, it's not. You wouldn't call it Ra. When do you call it Yetzer Hara? Only
Hakol.
It's Hakol, right? But it's not. It's not Ra.
It's not Ra.
It's just Tov. It's not Ra.
No, there's no Tov.
Right.
So basically, right? I don't know what
You can't have Ra until you have a potential of Tov.
Yeah.
Right.
So you call it a survival, but it's called Yetzer Hara because Ra doesn't mean bad.
No, it means bad,
Yitzhak.
but it means bad only when Tov enters the scene, right?
Right. You know, I was talking to this person yesterday who was actually, how he got to me was a whole story, but it was actually like a Hasidic guy, Satmar guy from Williamsburg who went completely off the derech and he became a movie star. And he plays like Hasidic guys because speaks perfect Yiddish and he knows the whole, he knows the whole way of walking and the whole way of talking. Like he knows that whole. So we complete. I'm an atheist. Like he's, he told me he did a show. He's an atheist. It was a very interesting. So he's telling me how he came to speak to me about a cousin of his. But Bet Shemesh, but he was telling me that like you learn so much like in the acting world, like you learn so much about life. So he was giving me one of the things one of the examples. He lives in California, he lives in Hollywood. He did this movie. I don't know. He's told me it's a famous movie. I don't know, Miriam and something or another. I don't know, a movie about a Hasidic woman who had an affair or something. So he's the Hasidic husband in this movie. But he was saying to you that in the acting world, like sometimes you have to get like really angry. So like you have to get really angry at his wife for having an affair, right? So you have to get really angry. So how do you like make yourself get really angry? So he said to me that the derech is, let's say you do the filming at 11 o'clock in the morning. Until 11 o'clock in the morning, you don't eat anything and you don't go to the bathroom. And by the time you get there, like you're ready to explode. Trick of the trade. And you're really upset, you're really anxious, you're really angry, then you're a good actor. So he was good, like to give me a bushel how the Ra has to be used. L'tayv. I told him you're such a shaitan. I told him you have so much talent and you have so much koach and so much insight and
What are you doing with it?
yeah, like just so he was abused in Williamsburg, so like you're going to let something happen when you're 10 years old affect your whole life, your whole eternity, and your whole... I hear what you're saying.
Unfortunately, he practices.
So Kabbalist Yitzhak is not like, when we say Kabbalist Yitzhak, it's not, we're not looking to kill it. We're saying it's a lashon because we want to conquer it. And not conquer to destroy, conquer to...
I would imagine the gardener would plant weeds.
Or tree.
I mean, Hashem does it for you. To break up the soil. Yeah. It's the same thing. The weeds are easier than...
So conquer to do good with it. I mean, that's what we're saying.
It's an energy.
It's an energy.
It's a koach.
I think it goes much more electricity.